What's up, y'all? This is Hussein Nasser from iGeometry, where we discuss software engineering by example. In this video, we will learn how can we create a Python script that connects queries, writes, and talk to a MySQL database. So we have done a similar video, but with Postgres, and it was a very popular video. And so I said, why not make the similar video for MySQL? MySQL is a popular database. All right. So if you're building a Python scripts, you thought that at one point you need to connect to a database. You need to store some sort of a state for your application. So database is a great choice. Postgres is a great choice. MySQL is even a great choice as well, right? So it's an open source, so you can use it, you can deploy it real quick, and it's really cool, all right? So with that said, let's just jump into the video, guys. So I have here a MySQL database, the server that I have literally hosted on my Mac here, but you can connect to a remote MySQL, whether it's an Amazon or any other remote service. You can deploy your own MySQL for testing and development purposes. I'm going to reference a video that we have done that before, okay, because I have a MySQL database that I hosted on Docker, for example, and it's the best approach. Spin up a container, have your database there, just like with one line of code. Then whenever you're done, destroy that thing because you're using it for development purposes. Okay, that's what I have here. I have here a MySQL database. Well, running on container, it doesn't really matter, but I have it there, and I have a table. I created a table called employees and have a bunch of records, right? If you go describe employees, you can see that it has a primary key and the name and some very basic information. So that's where you need to start working with this. You need at least a MySQL database, okay? You also need Python, and you need your favorite visual editor, right? A text editor, okay? My favorite is Visual Studio Code. I love it because it's just like I use it for almost all my scripting languages. I use it for JavaScript, I use it for TypeScript, I use it for Python, and many more. Okay, and that's why I like to use it, right? So with that said, let's just jump into the video and just start coding. How about that, guys? Okay, so I'm gonna create a brand new project, okay, which is a folder essentially, and that folder I'm gonna call it MySQL demo Python, okay. And then just open this folder. So it's a brand new folder, okay. And then what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna create a blank file called db.py, and then we start playing with this thing, guys. It's a blank db, okay, file, and then I'm gonna use Python 3. So if you clicked here, by default, that's my preference. So I just use 3.7, and that's good, okay. So what library should I use in order to connect to a MySQL database? And that's the cool thing about Python, guys. I give Python a hard time. It's like if you're watching me, it's like I'm not a really big fan of Python. I really prefer JavaScript, but this is like kudos for Python and the community behind that they have made this DB API, which is a standard. So if you know how to talk to a Postgres database using this API, you take your knowledge and use it the exact same thing, right? There is the same API, which is insane, right? So let's just jump into the video and try to do it. Okay, what's the library? Import, like anything else, MySQL dot connector. It's a very simple thing. Obviously, MySQL dot connector doesn't exist on my machine, right? So we need to install, but we'll get to that, okay? But what you do essentially is first thing, rule with connections or databases to create a connection. You need to create a channel to the database, okay? And that is by creating a variable called con equal MySQL, which we just import, dot connector, which we just import, dot a function called connect, right? And this is a keyword argument, okay? And then what we need to pass in is a bunch of parameters that you should know, like where does this database exist, what's the username and password, what port this database is listening to, and all this stuff, right? So that's just the host is, in this case, you can use localhost, you can use the machine name, like in this case, it's called Hussein Mac, right? I just hosted it. Again, guys, I'm gonna reference a video for the Docker stuff, like how do you spin up a MySQL database if you really want it. It's like, it was really cool. It's just one line of code. You install Docker and just blah, you have a MySQL database, so you can run your test as well. Okay, so host Hussein Mac, and then the second thing is obviously the user. My user is called root. That's bad practice, guys, but it's just a testing. Who cares, right? This is a tutorial. We're just testing things. Obviously, the right ways to create a user. Okay, and this is password. Please don't look. My password is very secure, and it's called password. Okay, so user, host, user, password roles. You need to connect to a database, right? My database is called Hussein DB. Okay, and you can call your database whatever, right? So whatever the database name, and you probably know all this information if you're writing code. Okay, host, user, password, and the final thing, database. That's perfect, database. My database is called Hussein DB. Okay, and then finally, optionally, is the port. Okay, and the default port for MySQL is 3306. If you're listening on 3306, you're good. You can just delete that, right? But I kind of like it if you specify that thing, right? Just like explicit, right? And then let's do a comment connecting to a data. Okay, wait, this is not JavaScript or C. Okay, that's fine. That's more like it. Make it a habit, guys. Whenever you create a connection, right, you want to always close it. Okay, just make it a habit, right? Close the connection. Don't leak stuff. We will never leak. We never leak. I'm the future. Okay, so create a connection. Okay, we close the connection, and then let's just run this thing. Okay, let's just print something that says, "Hey, I think I am connected." Okay, and there's a failure. It will tell us, right? So let's go ahead and debug and start debugging. And I'm expecting this to fail. Okay, I'm expecting this to fail. And it says module not found, and that's okay because yeah, what the heck is mysql.connector? We never used this before, right? It's not built in, so you gotta install it. How do we install it, guys? How do we install it? So you can go to the terminal, either from the Visual Studio Code or just your terminal, and then just literally type this. You have to say it this way too, in a British accent as well. Okay, you do pip install, and then if you don't say it in a British accent, it won't work. Okay, so pip install MySQL dash, not dot, right? Connector, and then dash Python. That was a terrible accent. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, and then once you do MySQL dash connector dash Python, that will install the connectors. Okay, and then it should be ready. Okay, so now if I do run start, it says, hey, I think I'm connected. It is connected. So we're good. We're good, guys. Okay, so now that we are good, this Visual Studio Code still thinks it's not connected. If I close and reopen, it should be okay, but yeah, just ignore it. So now we have a connection. The next thing we want to do is we want to like say, what did we do here? Select star from employees. Why don't we do this? This is a terrible query, guys. Never do a star and never do an unbounded things. Okay, you have to do like a where clause. But this is a tutorial. But I'm telling you what's bad and what's not bad, at least. Okay, from my experience. All right. So in order to create queries, we kind of use something called a cursor. Okay, and then to create a cursor, you create a variable called anything really, and then you say connection.cursor. Okay, and then if you specify a name here, then it becomes a named cursor, which is a server-side cursor. If you don't, then it says client-side cursor. So you might ask, Hussein, what the heck is a client-side versus a cursor, server-side cursor? Thank you so much. This is a great question. I'm going to reference a video that we did between the differences, right? Server-side versus client side. Okay, server side is essentially something that lives in the database. Client side is it lives on your client, on your application, on your script, right? So there are certain cases where you want to use one over the other. I'm not going to go through it here. Just check out it's a long video that we did, and we like created a million rows and showed the client versus client side, server versus server side, and all that stuff, right? Okay, so we create a cursor. Let's create a cursor. So we're gonna create a cursor. Okay, let's do the client side cursor. Okay, so now Let's pull this up. That's what she said. All right. And then cursor.open. We have the cursor. And then what you're going to do is you execute. So execute the query. And then if you execute the query, you do select star from employees. Okay, again, the bad query, guys. Right? And then once you do that, that essentially executes the cursor, doesn't really fetches the result. It's just it prepares the statement, if you will. Okay, what actually fetches the result is you have to explicitly say that. Okay, and then you can do it this way. Okay, rows equal cursor dot fetch all. Okay, fetch me everything, right? And then when you fetch everything, you can just loop through all that stuff. For rows and rows, you can say print, and let's use the fancy print here, which will basically can allow me to do R0. Okay, R0. You know what? Let's just use ID and name. Okay, so we know what's 0 and what's 1. Okay, so the ID is equal to this, and the name is equal to O sub 1. Okay, and then just like that, I think we're ready, guys. Okay, again, when you're done, make sure to also close the cursor. Cursor.close. Okay, just make it a habit. Make it a habit. So we're gonna fetch everything now, and then we're gonna learn about something cooler, guys. Okay, let's just do start debugging. And then if you call, then we're all right. So something's bad here. Hussein db.employees doesn't exist. Whatever you were talking about, sir. Okay, is it really case sensitive? No way. I didn't know that. I really hope it's not, because if it's case sensitive, I never knew this. This is news to me. Oh my god, it is case sensitive, guys. Well, you learn new thing every day. How about that? You have to use case sensitive. Or did I misspell it? I have no idea. It's really weird. I really doubt that is case sensitive. I might have misspelled it, guys. Okay, so now this is essentially listing all the queries. Hussein, Edbon, Diara, Ali. How about if I only interested in the Yara, for example? Okay, so one way to do things is to use the fancy print, and they say where name is equal to, and then you can do all this garbage, right? Which is bad, by the way, but I'm gonna show it to you anyway. Okay, and you can do this, right? And you can do like I don't know, Yara, right? This is one way of doing it. Okay, you can just like literally type it in. Okay, you can do that, but that's bad, right? Because this could be a potential for a SQL injection, which is bad, right? So what you do is like the DB API, which this API provides, is the parameters, and you can do this like name equal -s, and then you provide a comma with a tuple. Okay, a tuple here has to have a comma, and then Yara is one of them. Okay, so you provide a tuple. Usually, don't do just a tuple with that, because it will treat it as a string for some reason, right? So just add a comma so we can force a tuple. All right, so this Yara will essentially be replaced here. Okay, and then we don't use f string here, just that, and that should fetch me just one row, which is called Yara. Let's take a look. Yes. Okay, so that's how you do it essentially, right? So that's how we can filter stuff, right? Okay, what else can we do? Let's start to insert some rows, guys. How about that? Okay, so this is let's comment this line, and then let's just do all again. Back to all. Okay, let's just back to all. And then what we're gonna do here is cursor.execute, right? I'm gonna change the state of this database. I'm gonna insert into employees, right? I really need to know, like, I don't believe that it's case sensitive. I think I just misspelled it, guys. Okay, employees, ID name, and then you do values, and then let's just add, I don't know, 7, and then John, right? That's one way of doing it, right, guys? So we're gonna add John this way, okay? So ID, name, values, and then if you do that, that will actually execute immediately. You don't need to follow it up with a fetch, okay? So now if I do run, I should get an extra name, which is, oh wait, we got an error. How about that, guys? It is a case sensitive. Oh my god, I'm learning something today, guys. Okay. Insert a new row. How about that? This is not a problem with Postgres, by the way, guys. I don't remember this having this problem with Postgres. So now, as you can see, John is the 7th employee, right? Employee number 7. Okay. Here's the interesting part. If I run it again, it will just work, which is kind of odd, okay? Because now we have, how come we didn't fail, right? Where is John? Right, I have added John twice, okay? We'll come to that, okay? So we added John here, okay? And if I go to the actual database here, and then clear, and say select all from employees, John is not here, guys. It's not physically in the database. But if I query it from here, it is there. And the reason is this is the transactional semantics of any database system, right, guys? It's just like it's there. So what you have to do is, if you really mean it, you really need to commit the transaction, okay? And if you commit the transaction, which is a property of the connection, your changes will be seen by everyone, okay? So let's go ahead and run this again. And then this time, we got John, obviously, but if I queried here again, now this time I see John outside because we just committed the edits, which also mean if I run it again, I should fail. Why, you might say? Because of this. Duplicate entry 7 for key primary. It's a primary key. It should fail, right? So, and that's okay. Okay, so let's fix this a little bit. So how can I use parameters to fix this, guys? It's very simple. So we can just basically literally change this to -s, change this to -s, and then you will basically use an ordered list. So let's add an employee number 8. Let's call him, give me a name, guys. Give me a name, Mark, okay? Okay, Mark. So this way, this is the better way. Don't embed your strings into that thing and just do weird string manipulation, right, guys? Okay, let's just collapse that. You can see the whole thing, guys. Do you see it? I'm gonna reference the code below, guys. So don't bother. Just like you don't have to like pause the video or code it. If you can, if you want to, but I'm gonna provide the code, right? And then let's just go ahead and start. Now we should have John and Mark. Okay, and then if I query it from outside, right, when I say outside, it's like other transactions, right, I can also see it. Mark is right there. So wait. All right, so let's just do something fancier at one point, okay, and then let's just insert like a bunch of employees. How about that, guys? Oh, that I in range. Let's say I'm gonna create 100 employees. 100 employees, and then their ID is literally I plus 10 because I want to jump, and then literally we're gonna call it Mark I. Okay, so this will essentially add employees number starting with 0 with 10, Mark 0, then Mark 1, Mark whatever. Okay, so let's just add all of these guys, and then look at that, we have added 100 employees. Then if I query it from here, you can see that I just added them. So this is how basically you can manipulate your data. You can insert records, you can read records, or you can essentially commit changes, right? Only when you really want to commit them, right? You can fail if there's something. You can do connection to rollback if you want to roll back your changes for any reason, right? It's like if the correct way of doing this is if you do a try and catch, you want to do a rollback after close. And I think if you close the connection, it will automatically roll back your edits. But just in case, all right, guys, that's all for me today. Hope you enjoyed this video. So that was like a brief tutorial of how can you connect from Python to MySQL. All right, I'm gonna provide the code here again, guys. If you're new to this channel, welcome and thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. Check out the other content. Make sure to like this video if you like it. Subscribe to this channel. Turn your notification on so you don't miss future videos. And if you're interested in any software engineering and topics, and you become a better software engineer, consider joining us. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. You guys stay awesome.